Welcome to our lovely future humans, to those who are curious on the kryptonite of human awakening. Yes, so whether it is ego that fuses with intelligence or inflated ego, they kind of go hand in hand. And they all are AKA insecure ego. And so the number one thing they want is, I'm right, you're wrong. But that's in a very, very obtuse way. So, with that, I have been feeling a bit sad for humanity as I do know their potential. I'm going to read from a bunch of different streams of consciousness to the best of my ability. Organized Mystic here, who is also a mentor, content creator, and podcast host. But for those who are awakening, therefore, they have nervous system regulation in the forefront and they have intellectual humility. So they're tired, just like I am, of that which are called spiritual bypassers, and they actively are 3D, 4D at this point. That's what I use to organize them all. But you can also say non bilaterally integrated, lacking self regulation skills, and above all, emotionally immature. So they didn't choose their weakness. Okay, so number one, spiritual bypassers slash somatic bypassers. Pseudo intellectuals that will say, I know it for sure. So pseudo intellectual certainty, which, as an academic at heart, although the inner growth mindset is only for those who are people who want to live their A game, because otherwise I would have stayed in academia. I'm still an academic who's like, okay, you're really fucking with that, which is the people who I see actually putting Neil deGrasse to the side for their preferred Peter Pan, which is a pseudo intellectual who says, I know for sure. No, no. Or someone who's so upset at the polyvagal theory that they go and make a whole tribe of people who are saying, we proved, we debunked. It's like the flat earthers basically saying our earth is flat. Okay, so if you're tired of spiritual bypassers, pseudo intellectual certainty, and bullshit marketers, by the way, of those entrepreneurs too, because seriously, superhero, supervillain, anyone groupie? So yeah, that's tribal validation loops where it's like, okay, look, your identity gets triggered because you own words. No, because you don't know how to use words. You think of them as right or wrong, and they don't notice themselves when they get irritated. Well, as you all know, from my edge is not my enemy. When I get irritated by inflated, insecure egos who basically shut down human evolution. But when I get scared for all of humanity, that's when I get talked sense to. It's like, well, all it takes is for the embodied intelligent ones who love the journal prompts and the inner growth mindset practices. They do self-reflection here at IHP, the Pay Hips shop, stores below, or the Spotify. There's inner growth mindset exercises, spotlights, and readings. But above all, they don't even need me to do this stuff. They're already doing it. That's why they have fun. So like when I am in the Quora IHP space or the Reddit space and I'm supporting people who are emotionally intelligent, it's amazing because they're doing great and they don't want academia to die. They actively are aware how online little separate institutions who are using their pseudo-intellectual people, it's like, okay, we know what ego does. Yes, when it fuses with fear because it's completely like, the world is changing, and it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. Yes, I can be dramatic too, believe me. It took me a while to get all grounded and alive here and say, okay, let's not bring in Maria's teenage version and her 3-year-old, because that's what I'm all my child parts. So when ego fuses the wrong way with intelligence, it becomes, to me, stupid. To others, academic ego performance. So those people who want performers because they perform themselves. Yes, let me remind you who the clowns are. They're not monsters. In fact, they regurgitate material really well, which is why it's not interesting. Tribal validation loops, so they have emotional outsourcing, so they want pats on the back. They like their camaraderie. That's women and men who aren't women or men to me or theys. They're not grown-ups. The adult word to me means self-regulating badass. Embodied intelligence is regulation, and so that's the only people who will inspire human potential. We don't need all humans right now to know how to do it. FYI, that's exactly why the 5D collective, it's not a prestigious collective, it's a Christ consciousness, oneness consciousness collective who learned, like I did, how to become their enlightenment version. Yes, because we laugh at douchebags and morons, and that's it. It's actually, I don't look for stupid consumers. I tell marketers, stop treating people like stupid ones. You're not helping them. It's like when I was asked in school, help me cheat. No, I'll help you learn. I won't help you cheat. I don't like you. Well, I'm not going to help you cheat because I would be not helping you. And I'm very literal. So if you want my help, here's my help. Why do they need you to be themselves, Maria? Well, because apparently there's a lot of people who don't know how to stay steady in uncertainty. So they need to hear how easy it is for some of us. It's only impossible until someone's like, look, it's not impossible to stay true to yourself while meeting douchebag after douchebag after douchebag, and they're all called cowards, which is why my judgmental asshole is still here. So fear of being wrong. It's not even fear of being wrong. You see, this is let me bring to you the attachment trauma education. It is that they don't own their brain. And so it's unfortunate because the actual brain of a human being is affected at their birth, already in the womb, then at their birth. And those who don't want to believe in it, that's okay. They won't be around us because they actively do. They don't like ventral energy. It's not funny. It's sad. God's perfect. No parents are not. No humans are not. God, I said. And yes, I know all the ones who are spiritual bypassers who are thinking we are it. And I'm like, if we were it, we'd be singing Kumbaya right now. Their idea of we are it is we are battling the forces of evil. That's a story. It's called a narrative for drama kings and drama queens who dysregulate. They don't self-regulate. And if people cared about what they did, instead of actually following a leader. Okay, so I'm going to pause so I can become serious again and let you know, Pay Hip Store for those of you who like self-reflective journal prompts and inner growth mindset practices. New update, Substack, become a paid subscriber eventually, but for now a free subscriber. There's plans for it. There's a beautiful framework for those of you who are self-leaders. I am starting to roll out with some, little tidbits here and there, okay? Now, that's for those of you who giggle, and it's not because we're happy to see people fail miserably. No, they are all right. We're wrong. Leave it alone. Leave them alone. And so when you get irritated, like I said, my edge, I am still working with my judgmental asshole, which is my own ego. She ain't delusional. She's like, I know what logic is, and I know what data is, and I know what quantitative analysis is, and then I know when there's some assholes who are so insecure that they need to one-up their colleagues, which is yucky and disgusting. To me, because I'm like, you're so insecure. It's not even Cain. Cain and Abel was better. At least they had bare hands. No, we're talking intellect. We're talking academia. So they're not helping anyone by actually treating each other like little kids do, spitefully, and with, I'm going to compete with you. So they care not about being educators. They care not about what they do. The ones who do, what do they do when they're presented with assholes? You know what they do? They continue their research. Great job to all of those who I know were treated like shit by their colleagues because those colleagues are morons and insecure people. And I am spotlighting them in the absence of naming them because that's how a grown-up does it. I don't need to spotlight morons. They're going to follow each other around and they ain't even going to know any better, and we don't want them around us because they slow us down and they irritate us. So when you are ready, if you're ready for dealing with uncertainty in a way of a grown-up, you come back here, you have fun with the stories, the perspectives, and you can have all the paid different options that are in the links below. If you're seeing me, if you're hearing me, Spotify or elsewhere, wherever you're at. No, Spotify, you can see me elsewhere. Go to YouTube, follow me there. Go to Instagram. You can go to LinkedIn, the Reddit, Quora, you'll find a space. And so Substack, again, I need to share that link actually, so that's not there in the description yet. I'll update that when I can. But yeah, ego loops, they are convinced that they know everything, and you just allow yourself to know if they're using words like labels, diagnoses, the shame, blame, fault, and then they're just organizing. Excuse me for a minute. They're organizing themselves in groups. That's the divisive stuff that doesn't do anyone any good. But if they're so into having to prove that their group is right, you let them have it, as that's what little pity parties do. And that's how they just keep actually stagnating. Excuse me. So, mediocre people. They're not dangerous, Dan Martel. Thank you for the tidbit. They're annoying to those of us who spot them. A-gamers. That's what I am. I'm a healthy perfectionist. Those who are pseudo-intellectuals piss me the fuck off because I know there's many morons out there who follow them, and therefore it's a little trickle-down effect. And then I think, well, we don't need all humanity to be awakened. The ones who fall for their own kryptonite, like my facade friend who has an Achilles heel and who decide to stay with their face in the mud, I can pick you up only so many times, as I told my facade friend when I did, and that's how it works with anyone. The minute you've chosen to not want to self-regulate and to become a person who's helpless and hopeless and all that shit, and then you continue to handle yourself with validation loopholes, go be right with your friends. Have fun. And in the meantime, the ones of us who grow the fuck up know how we're going to leave a legacy behind, and it's not because we need any kind of amazing certificates, because smart ones know how to discern, and academia is by far the most interesting of places to learn things. As for the buffoons who become pseudo-intellectuals for an academic at heart, it's like, really? You're not helping anyone at all. Actually, what you're doing is detrimental, because we already have little groupies hanging around each other. Flat earthers, anyone? They probably went and took Neil deGrasse's "I proved the earth is round again" and said, "Here," because that's how delusional idiots work. Anybody know how Hansel and Gretel built their little breadcrumb trails? That's how an intelligent brain says, "Okay, ego, I know what you're doing. Okay, Buddha, high five. That's my signal. Hey, Jesus, high five." So he signals me when I'm wasting time with that which is not of interest to those of you who are self-sovereign and are still here. So at the end of the day, I was a bit saddened this morning as I thought of humanity, and I was like, are they going to make it? Because it's quite scary, the number of people who waste their time with escapism, like TV shows that are sickening. Anything. I'm just so like comedians I laugh at, because at least they're just making jokes. With the movies, I cannot watch a movie without analyzing it. And then when I'm going out there and seeing people who continue to talk about polyamory and monoamory as one of the two is better than the other, or political groups, or anything, I'm just like, and so this is me being dramatic. See, I can be a drama act. No, I'm not. I'm just saying it's concerning, the level of immaturity that is out there, and the level of those who are not heroes, but if they really want to, well, Superman had a kryptonite. So superheroes have a supervillain, and then they basically blind themselves. And then they play a pity party game, and they don't really embody intelligence, let alone do they leave something that makes a difference for eons. Instead, those who do, well, guess what? They do because they care about what they do. So they leave a legacy behind of A-gamers. We teach the children what self-regulation skills look like. And like grown-ups, we don't say there's a bad group and there's a good group. Like grown-ups, we explain. So when you meet ignorance, they use, like my mother did, they use their hands. They don't know how to use their mouths. I curse, but that's not because I don't know how to use my mouth. They don't know who intellectuals are. They do not know how to discern academia. They do not know how to discern what a pseudo-intellectual... Oh, they also don't know the difference between a guru and an actual cult leader, because they don't really know the difference between their gut, a good one, or a bad one. Oh, because they don't go and own their embodied brain. These are new data points. Anyone who learned about anything attachment trauma related. So when I meet a moron, I know who they are. They're the same group who's against the awakening of humankind with the very information of the first 3 years of your life matter. And if Robert Sapolsky's right about being determined, well, I know who's going to end up at IHP. Because you better bet not all 8 billion of people are lacking self-regulation skills. A-gamers will not allow themselves to lack integrity. A-gamers will allow themselves to spot, okay, here's the group of those who are making a difference, and here's the group of those, in my case, that are my edge, and that we will allow to fuse with their not intelligence. So let me pause as I share with you jokes of here and there, what awakening actually is. Okay, so this is where don't write down any rules. It's not a rule book. I'm just giving you some random food for thought. Okay, so awakening is not spiritual aesthetics. It's not about I'm better, you're better, spiritual mystic or not. It doesn't matter. It is not about winning ideological debates. In fact, what's most boring of all are people who are insecure, don't want to chit-chat. They want to win. It's like, go to fucking school and get a degree, because that's the only place where argumentation is valid. Or if you are actively a public speaker in some way, are you proving so? I don't know, but don't in social time. Instead, there's a bunch of people that they don't come in just chit-chatting with ideology, with let's have an exchange. It's I'm going to win a debate that nobody wants to have. I don't like debates on social time. But that's just me. There's a bunch of people who are so insecure with their egos that they can't help themselves. They won't be back here. So sounding intellectual, yeah, that actually is hilarious. Have you ever met people who accentuate their words and then they continue to do this and then they continue to play with their fucking words and they're performing? Yeah, I've seen them. So, oh yes, the being right. Now, it's one thing that we're playing because people who are smart, they play. But it's another thing when that's actually what drives you. And if you don't notice, so like in my case, I get irritated by morons. I'm not right or wrong because I'm not a moron. I know I don't know everything. So I'm intellectually humble enough. And when I'm learning from the pseudo intellectual who pissed me the fuck off, I remind myself that I'm a pseudoscience because I'm a mystic spiritual. So I'm considered that by those who are scientific. That's okay with me. I'm not selling charlatan shit, okay? But I do know how it looks from those who are irritated, those who don't know how to listen, a lot of things. So when I'm coming in, I'm always like, there's all these different angles. So at the end of the day, emotional sovereignty and staying connected while disagreeing. Yes, so awakening is emotional sovereignty and staying connected while disagreeing. It is the capacity to update beliefs, it is increased nervous system regulation, and it is tolerating uncertainty without identity collapse. While collecting trauma vocabulary is not awakening, just so we're clear because I didn't spot my organization. So, awakening is not spiritual aesthetics, winning ideological debates, sounding intellectual, being right, collecting trauma vocabulary. In fact, someone saying, I'm a healer, how do you trauma dump? Okay, you're not healing anyone, and trauma dumping, really, you could have just said, thank you for sharing, this is not what I do. Awakening is increased nervous system regulation, check. Capacity to update beliefs, intellectual humility. So again, we can all be judgmental assholes, but we don't know everything. Emotional sovereignty, staying connected while disagreeing, and tolerating uncertainty without identity collapse. So that's where kryptonite, for the ones who have it, the ego and the fear. So again, not the healthy ego. We all have ego, and not the healthy fear. So while people will not know that these words that I use is because I know about nervous system. And then I can't know what you know about your nervous system. I can know how to explain to you what I know. But I can also tell you that, like Bessel van der Kolk points out, dysregulated people don't know they're dysregulated. But if you spell it out well enough, a person who wants to awaken and enlighten to their A game will know, okay, that makes sense. Because their gut will want that. And their heart will want that. And their mind will want that. I can't make you want to be yourself. I can't. You can't make someone want to embody the full-blown intelligence that they will become as a human being, because you can't make them want to know themselves. Because you can't make them want to know their first 3 years of life. I found it hard to believe that my first 3 years of life means shit. And I didn't do nothing when I got that word except for that's it inside my own head. Because that's exactly what happens when someone denies the proof that you have implicit memory like I do, and explicit, and then you have a nervous system, and that your childhood does matter, and that whatever bad habits you will have had, there's a reason for it. That you're not a piece of shit, and nor is humanity. So the people who want to continue the shame continuum, we all know who they are. And so those who have fear when uncertainty, instability, cultural shifts, all that, and the ego is not a self-empowered one with integrity that knows humanity, goes through changes. We don't decide if we have to be polyamory or monoamory or any of that. This is very hilarious. It's society. Guess who doesn't understand how it works? The same ones who don't enlighten and who think of emotional outsourcing and validation. They're little groupies. So words matter in a way that makes them obtuse. They have an insecure ego, so they're identity triggered, they're word triggered, they're group triggered. They're all 14-month-olds who own nothing of themselves. The 14-month-old decides it wants to play with a teddy bear that likes the same cereal that it likes. Wow, that's pretty petty. Yes, so when I'm meeting, yes, I know. Judgmental asshole, I'm getting chimed in again. When I'm meeting insecure egos, I learned a long time ago as a teenager what to do with them. I let them speak. If they give me any feedback, I say, look, we have different opinions. I'm pretty sure you don't want to hear mine because this isn't an exchange, and I really don't have time to talk about my opinions because I have no proof for them. Do you mind? I'd like to move forward with my life right now. And they will think I'm an ass and obtuse, and I will think nothing except for I saved myself from that which would be someone seeking certainty, belonging, superiority because they're insecure and inferior in their own body, and control because that's what their left wants. And I'm not the delusional idiot who wants control because I have none. Roof, don't fall over my head, please. Thank you. Dark matter, dark energy, please don't implode. They suffer their human condition. It's not a dilemma. Human secondary consciousness, which is why the Mystic and Spiritual 5D Collective welcome. You're expanding your 9th and 8th chakra if you're still here at 20 minutes with Maria. And we're not a special group. We're just people who have an integrated brain, and we live a restored, embodied, self-aware, accountable, and regulating life. Whatever their edge is, they'll know. And they're laughing with me at that, which is bullshit from a bunch of people out there. Because while Schopenhauer's quote says, if you want to appeal to a large audience, appeal to the masses, I know that out of 8 billion people, there's bound to be at least 1,000 who are doing self-regulation skills. A-gamers, high five, minimum. And there's 1,600 and something here at IHP. So you better bet there's a bunch more out there. As embodied intelligence is in all corners of the world. They're pretty tired with a lot of things. I'm pretty sure they're also laughing. So the ego that is insecure uses whatever language is available. In academia, they do intellectual dominance. In spirituality, bypassing and inflated enlightenment. In online spaces, tribal validation loops. And that's the same nervous system patterns. In fact, actually, they may have different costumes, meaning words, but they have the same pattern. Martyrs, blamers, superiors, codependents, they always chime off each other because they're all living their non-metabolized 8-year-old. Thanks, Pat Ogden, for that tidbit. So that's the part that makes me call them all Peter Pans, Wendy's, and Lost Boys. I have to respect people who didn't get a good start at life. Then I have to make fun of them with respect due to the fact that they really look for camaraderie in ways that are beyond the bejesus of me. And then I try to remind you all that my BFF of all times thought I was a snoot before becoming my friend. And then when she did, I said, I was just confident, and I still am. And she said, well, now I know. And I said, yeah. So as a teenager, I didn't follow mediocre assholes around. You better bet, as a grown woman, as I began to become a marketer and an online content creator, I wasn't planning on serving any of those who are mediocre because I wouldn't be able to be near them. They wouldn't be able to be near me. Guess what? People who don't want validation, who want validation and don't want the... Okay, look, do you know how to handle that which you will say is personal? The emotion that arises. Also, do you know how to handle relationships and life and just anything that you don't like a grown-up, like just I have irritation, but it's not laundry, like you know how to make it into a fun game, living life as yourself, like with all of that which goes around you, because that's the ones of us who are embodying regulation skills. You learn to make it fun because you're not taking away pieces of yourself. Nobody took shit from you, and you didn't get lost, and you didn't lose anyone. And it's like I just trying to be myself. That's how it feels when you feel good to be in your own skin. You don't perform. I don't perform. And I definitely have fun when people dress me up. It's hilarious, but I got used to that part too. So, spiritual bypassers and pseudo-intellectuals. Yeah, it's not just about misinformation. They're definitely identity protected certainty people. So this is where it's hilarious when I'm spotting them. Because while I'll be made fun of since I'm pseudoscience, I'm like, look, they're between the spiritual bypassers over here, the somatic bypassers over here, the ones who are tapping into it all and they're believing in conspiracies over there. Just think of the sphere of consciousness as the trash bin. No, it's not a trash bin. For the lower toroidal field, yes, because they're all in the low frequency. So you can just go watch horror movies or any of the drama TV, all that stuff. Yes, I'm sure that is what's populating that bandwidth. As for the 5D and above bandwidth, we are like, wow, as we look from are grounded in reality. Thank you, Sam Harris. Where every one of our cherished beliefs can be falsifiable, but I know one for me, God's perfection. Every one of his child. This is why I remain humble, even though it might not sound like it. I know I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. God's perfect. Everybody else is just working to become their best version, which is why when you do embody humanity, your humanity, the divinity thing, yes, it's you're a conduit. As you know how to, under activation, like my panic attacks, maintain common sense and remind yourself, treat people with respect. They may not be their A game. That doesn't mean you need to be a B gamer like them. You don't copy those who lack manners. You actually want to rise above self-regulate, differentiate, and remember, they didn't get taught manners. They were modeled contempt. They were modeled superiority from insecure people. They were modeled the right, wrong shit and whatever else bullshit came around. They're holding themselves and you like they were held. Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Terrio. So yeah, I hold myself the way my mom held me too, and she's explained things. So she explains, she's objective, she doesn't sugarcoat, and I don't sugarcoat, and that's why I learned how those who want validation loops, I'm like, look, I'm not going to say you're right or wrong. That's not for me to say. I just have a different opinion. Can we let it go? That's it. Yes, you can call me stupid. So call me all the names of the book. Could we let it go now, though? Because I'm pretty sure we've arrived at the conclusion of our interaction. Okay, great. So that's where identity protected certainty, they don't have room for hearing anybody else's beliefs. In fact, they are defensive. So it's very uninteresting. Let's see. So yes, those who think they can transcend ego, spiritual bypassers, they avoid that word shadow work, which I mean, I don't use it, but I don't have a shadow. The ones who do go to therapy and they do good work with it. Then once they're done with the MDR, child parts work and somatics, now they can do the grown-up thing and they can work with their window of welcome. That's because they've done all of it. And what I wanted to chime in and say, because I think I was telling you something about that part, but the sad news of pseudo-intellectuals, of egoic human beings who went to academia or go to academia, and they may have all the certificates in the world. I have a master's degree. I have certificates of attachment trauma education. I'm a Reiki master, so I have certificates for aspects that are spiritual too. You know, the word means something to me, but today it means less, not because the learning means less. No, because there's a bunch of people who hold just as many, if not more, certificates. They're pseudo-intellectuals. They stop learning, they're egoic, and they're not actively caring about others' best interests. They're caring to bring forth their group's identity. Then so a person who will buy into it, though, they'll buy into it because people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So they will resonate. No, they will see themselves in that group, which is why they're all the sheep. So you need your tribal validation loop in order for you. So it doesn't matter the certificates, the money, none of that. What will matter is when you hear me, do you agree with me, which is bullshit again. So you're not looking to actually work with someone who helps you to become a better version of yourself. So when it comes to personal and spiritual growth, for example, for what I do, besides for marketing, I work with smart entrepreneurs. So they don't question the collaboration. Is we see eye to eye and we know exactly what value means. Stupid consumers, they are not thorough and they are stupid. And the people who the people who play that little hero, problem, villain, all those games, they actually are all the same weak ones who support each other, and that's how they get strong. So they're not growing strength because they got curious when they faced uncertainty or dealt with something. They got strong. No, they didn't get shit. They got a groupie going on. Flat earthers, they all come together. That's why it's sad. Human potential. There's no potential there. If I take away your Peter Pan and Wendy, let me see. Who are you going to go to next? Flip, flop. Oh, look, you lack complete sense of self. You don't know how to own anything. You don't own a strong foundation. That's why the weak ones don't make me think, oh my God, evil's going to win. It can't win. But when I see humanity consistently fail to notice that pseudo-intellectuals are not replacing academics at all. And when you're in academia, I'm sad for those who meet the egoic egos, and I wish there would be more academics who would say, hey, you need to go and get this shit done, like do something, because your debate is completely skewed in ways that are unreasonable and unhealthy and unnecessary. We can have a completely better debate if you had a better ego. So it would be nice if some of those academics would put their insecure ego colleagues in check and say, you don't need to be insecure about it. But then again, maybe that's a waste of time. So long story short, I'm happy I'm not in academia, not because of the academia, because I want to help people to be themselves and have a good life, spiritual and personal growth. And so with Substack, again, the plan is going to be awesome. I'm going to have so much fun doing that. And PayHip will get some of tarot guidance as well at some point, just not right now. Okay, so yeah, the spiritual bypassers, they avoid doing the work with a good therapist. They avoid accountability of their entire nervous system. In fact, they're somatic bypassers, and they reject scientific inquiry, but they reject scientific explanation. So dysregulated and modulated embodiment, they're not ready for somatic experiencing necessarily. That is exactly why they will feel very uncomfortable, unhappy, and actually have potentially a very not good experience, if you will, with that which would be something that could benefit them, because their body is not ready yet, as their self is not ready yet. Which is why I have an issue with the pseudo intellectuals within the entire community that is psychology, neuroscience, and the mental health group, because by having a bunch of them who are not yet anchored in their own ventral energy, who are not mature egos, who are completely continuous destabilized with their own modulated shit, you got a bunch of people who don't realize that, yeah, not everybody is made to get into that which is called the body work yet. But that's not because you don't have the body. You do. But that's, again, another point that you will not be validating with those who are dysregulated, because they will immediately, I'm right, you're wrong. And that's automatic, and that's that deflection. As Pat Ogden, Stephen Porges, and a bunch more, Dr. Daniel Siegel, Vanderkolk in different ways, Pat Ogden, I said her, Janina Fisher. So a bunch of experts, amazing experts. And you see so many of these other people who have these degrees and certificates denying expert information based on their little groupies and the fact that it doesn't work for them because they don't know how to regulate their nervous system, and they're denying the proof. They're denying that they're doing it, that they're being reactive. So when you deny your own ego being reactive, it's like if I were denying my judgmental asshole. I don't deny it. I work with it, and I don't say it's right. I say, no, I'm not right. I actually completely master and look to master her so that I may continue to contribute authentically and transparently to all that is of value for everyone, not just for Maria, because I'm one human. I'm leaving it behind for others. And so humans, we're all flawed and we are all full of mistakes, but you better bet nobody's going to put a monster inside anyone who's a mistake. No, they're not a mistake. We all make mistakes. Identity. Egos that are weak, they don't know who they are. Use your name. Look yourself in the mirror. The words don't matter, though, because if they have a heart that feels gut wrench, loathing, torn apart, and they are this, we're meant to be in our modulated embodiment. That's exactly the way people will handle information when they are teenage versions of themselves, which is why it's like, okay, wow, you got trauma charges. You don't even know what the fuck's coming out of your mouth right now. When I have my edge, I know, which is why Buddha, I'm now learning to pick up on his signal when he starts to make fun of me and Jesus. They're always with me. There's a bunch more of ascended masters. God's always there too. Yeah, just so you know, you may be right, I may be crazy, but it might just be a lunatic you're looking for. No, that's not true. That's not what I think. But for those who might, and I've asked a friend of mine that before, I was like, do you think I'm crazy? He's like, no, I think you believe in what you experience, and, well, you know, that's it. I love how he said it. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. So here's some pseudo-intellectual examples. They use complex language. Remember, they dress all up and they say stupid things like lack of imagination for evil. And you think, no, you lacked education, because we all have imagination. And apparently the dark sides of neuroplasticity have taken over your brain. So when someone wants to dress up my brothers and sisters, I become defensive. It's like, look, stop calling them names. There's no monster inside of them. Please. Refuses pure exchange. Yes, they actually will go against each other and not have nice conversations. They will tease each other. They will spite each other in ways that I'm not trying to. I'm trying to be nice to 3D, 4D brothers and sisters. So if I'm not sounding like I am, please, no, I don't validate them. I do make fun of them, but I understand where they come from. Their own homes. So they weren't taught good manners, and I was. And then I decided to have integrity and stand up like this and say, I'm Maria. And so that's how it works. But I have a lucky in my pocket. I have a twin, so I got to play, and we still fight like cats and dogs. And so we can't break. That's the part when she said, because she disowned me at the age of 8, which freed me from effective realism. And I told her the story because of one of my hypnotherapy sessions is where I found out about this whole stuff. And she's like, is that why we're broken? I said, we're not broken. We just have different way that we like to interact with life. And I'm busy. That's all. It's not because I don't love you. So some people like to have more conversations and social contact. And I get busy with everything. So that's all. Some bond more, and they really enjoy bonding. I enjoy bonding, but I don't have to bond as much as some others do. And so, long story short, I actually answered a question on Quora Reddit. Maybe I'll get it after we're done with this. And so, one, not everybody is ready for restorative embodiment. Hopefully, I made that one clear. And so, that's okay. But if they're willing, because they want to be themselves, because they're still connected to their sense of self, they're going to be patient and wait for it. And they're going to continue. Because that's the other part. If you do have a relationship with your sense of self, you know the authentic, transparent, true ones. That's what makes me happy. That part I forget sometimes. That those who want access to themselves, they always find. Those who stay open-hearted. But that doesn't mean that the ones who are close-hearted have no way to get home to, if you don't believe in God, I'm just going to say home to their true self. So we don't give up on humanity or egos. So yeah, I don't give up on people. Just makes me sad to see how many of them are falling for the pseudo-intellectuals. Pseudo-intellectuals make me mad because they're the ones who are supposed to care about responsibility, and that knowledge empowers people, and they care to tell you that their knowledge is the right knowledge and that their agenda is the right agenda, and anyone who's in a modulated embodiment doesn't help misinformation. They just help to become people who, one of the reasons why I've like the lives I'm pausing them is I like to share and I want to build a community, but there's so many people out there who are just ready to pick on conversations because their angle is from an insecure ego. And so they are compelled, they're like, I'm going to correct that person. Excuse me, you confusing science spirituality. So I can't say that I have not done that, which is why we can't say none of us are culpable. But the difference will be an aware, accountable, regulating person will try to make it into a conversation. So somebody chimes in, so sorry, let me step back, be quiet. So pseudo-intellectuals, they use complex language, they refuse pure exchange, they dismiss contradictory evidence, they treat disagreement as a threat. They, in fact, don't have any care to have an interaction. So both are ego protection, neither is awakening, and that is important to share. So we don't want to attack it, we want to analyze it. And I don't look to condemn people or diagnose, I look to explore, as in this episode we're doing. And so again, when people do self-reflective and mindset practices and they are looking to bring their A game on, they're not thinking of anything of good or bad in ways of child's play. We can all get dramatic and upset, and that means sad and angry, but the part is humans evolve thanks to embodied intelligence, and that's where everyone who will be a nervous system sovereign person will be doing that. Will be sharing intelligence and knowledge, not the stories and the tribal validation and the little groups. Those who will use those groups, they are strong because of their peers. That's it, and they can continue to do so. We have plenty of people who don't mingle and tingle with each other. Academia is not the enemy. Dogma is, that's for sure. Important nuance for credibility. Yes, academia at its best, it tests ideas, revises models, encourages peer review, values falsifiability. One of the things I love about Neil deGrasse, he shares, here's red flags, here's yellow flags, here's green. I'm pretty sure I would be a yellow because I'm a pseudoscience mystic who's bringing a bunch of different things in, which I'm okay with. Because I know who's a green. He's a green, as long as he's open also to other dialogues, which he seems to be. Spiritual exploration at its best. Explores subjective experience, integrates meaning, encourages humility before mystery and mastery, and before anything, humility is in the forefront. So if we sound cocky, we don't want to, and we will look to maintain that humility. And some will understand, others will not. They might think you're just pretending. So both of these aspects collapse when ego hardens, and those who are not anti-science will know why pseudoscience isn't a good or bad word. Pseudo-intellectual is not a good or bad word either, but you better bet that the pseudo-intellectuals are quite just disruptive in ways that, while a spiritual bypasser, I can totally spot and know where they're coming from. The pseudo-intellectual, it's just doesn't help. That's all. But I'm going to leave that one. So, dogma, although it's a word that I don't use often, and, other words too, I'm pretty much hoping that we can have more intellectuals that allow themselves to be heard and to spot their colleagues and try and create better conversations so that humility can be brought forth. So, at the end of the day, it is saddening to see that which is humanity seem to stall, but I am sure that we are going to be fine and all right. And so, welcome to those of you who stayed till the end. Love the emotionally sovereign, intellectually humble people, and those of you who are committed to integration and can put up with a pseudoscience woo lady who does know that our mystic spiritual world is valuable far beyond what anyone could ever speak of. So I love that I get to bring to you those toolkits, but I love to also create awareness of good science and good academia and good information, and then to know how we want to simply put allow ourselves to keep learning and expanding knowledge and to laugh and to know everything's going to be okay. Like the physicist Thomas Campbell pointed out, love always wins, and he's a physicist. And like God points out, and like I will share, I know who wins. It's called love, and humans will evolve. So to another day as your real self, and to those who have their A game, and let's thank our brothers and sisters for doing the best they can, their B game. We all know they can achieve their A game, so we'll keep on embodying intelligence, self-regulating, and being ourselves. Have a good one.